Get the clock.
All set.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to call the Sutton Planning Board meeting on November 2nd to order. It's approximately 7:02. And the first thing we have to do is read the how to conduct an open meeting under these circumstances. This open meeting of the Sutton Planning Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's orders, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. While still ensuring public access, this order supersedes the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Regardless of our inability to meet in person, it is our intent to ensure continued transparency and the ability of the public to at least view the actions of our board. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. Tonight's public meeting may feature public comment. For this meeting, the Sutton Planning Board is convening by Zoom teleconference as specified on the legally posted agenda. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and that you take care not to, quote, screen share, unquote, your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I don't see Kyle here, so our alternate, Bill Talcott, will be stepping up with this and will be sitting in his seat. The first item of business, Mike, I'm going to ask you to read this, is the notice from N-Star Gas.
Yes. In accordance with the provisions of the Sutton zoning bylaw, section 4C, site plan review, the planning board will hold a hearing on the application of N-Star Gas Company doing business as Eversource Energy for land owned by them at 19 Oakhurst Road, which extends into the town of Northbridge. The application proposes to construct a secure natural gas gate station consisting of 2 to 3 buildings and associated equipment, none of which is greater than 1,000 square feet each. The hearing will be held on Monday, November 2nd, 2020 at 7:00 p.m.
Do we have a representative from Eversource present?
Yes, good evening. We have people from Eversource present.
Okay, could you please identify yourself, sir?
Yes, sir. My name is Samuel Ijeoma, and I'm an engineer with Eversource Energy.
Okay. Dan, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I believe there are several other people on this call representing Eversource as well. I'm not sure who's going to make the presentation. Trisha Foster is here from Epsilon. Jen, we had Jen Bataro, I believe is National Grid as well.
Eversource. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Easy confusion. It's okay. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Right. So if you could just let me know who's going to make the presentation. I do have your PowerPoint here. I'm happy to share that to the screen, and you can walk through that and just tell me when you want me to change slides if you want to go through that.
Sure. Are we going to share the slides with the attendees, or do I need to share my screen? Okay.
Yeah, I can share the screen.
If you don't mind, please.
Sure, not a problem. Doing that right now. Okay.
Again, good evening, everybody. My name is Samuel Ijeoma, and thanks for the opportunity to make this presentation to the attendees and to the planning board. With me here is the Eversource team working on the project, and I'll just go through the team members' names again. Just like you're already aware, Tricia Foster has been an active member of the project team. We also have Brendan Kearns working with us. Brendan is with Tremont Engineering. And also with us tonight, we have Chase Bernier, who is with Suica. And we have Jem Bertaro with Eversource Energy. And finally, Mark Lampin with Eversource Energy. Again, the purpose tonight is to review our site plan with the planning board and possibly get some feedback. So if you want to go to the next slide, that would be nice. Again, just like it was mentioned earlier, the purpose of this project really is to construct a new city gate station in Sutton. Most people are probably wondering what a city gate station does, so I'll just explain briefly. So a city gate station is basically a facility where transmission company for the gas delivers gas to the distribution company. So in this case, the distribution company is Eversource Energy. So we basically take delivery of the gas. It is typically at high pressure. We measure the gas then we reduce the pressure of the gas and we deliver it into our distribution system for transport to customers. So it's just similar to an electric substation. The difference is an electric substation would reduce the voltage of electric from high voltage to a lower voltage, whereas a city gate station would reduce the pressure of the gas from high pressure to lower pressure that we can transport to the customers. Next slide, please. If you paid attention closely, you would have heard me mention a distribution system. So I'm happy to report to everyone that earlier this year, we got approval and support to go ahead and install over 2.5 miles of 12-inch distribution pipeline from Main Street and Gilmore Drive to Douglas Road and Fletcher, just somewhere south of the Meadow Pond, just before the bridge. Again, I'm also happy to report that we've completed almost 50% of that project. So next slide, please. Again, just to summarize, I've mentioned that it is our intent to install a new city gate station. I've also mentioned that we are working on installing over 2.5 miles of 12-inch distribution main. So what values are these two major projects going to add to the area? Number one, when we install the new city gate station, what it does is it improves the pressure in our distribution system. That way we are able to support the local customers in the area. And that is a service that we are always happy to continue to provide to our customers. So again, by completing this project, we are able to better serve our customers. Number two, we have a similar facility on South Grafton. The name of the facility is Farnhamsville Gate Station. So the new station that we are looking to install in Sutton is going to have more modern equipment and is going to be able to support the existing station. So think of it as a supplemental feed to our system. It kind of helps us build some resiliency and reliability in our distribution system. And finally, think of the growth that we want to experience in Sutton and the neighboring communities. By completing these major projects, we are able to support any commercial and industrial customers that are already in the area. We are also able to position ourselves such that we can support any customers, support and attract any large industrial customers that might have interest in coming into the area. So those are the values that I believe we are able to add by completing this project. So I will turn it over to Tricia so that she can provide us some additional information. That way you can understand more the project that we're looking to complete. Thank you, Jen, and thank you, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Trisha Foster, and as Samuel said, I'm part of the Eversource Sutton Gate Station project team. Jen, if you want to go to the next slide, this is an aerial photograph of the project site. The project site is outlined in the yellow. As mentioned previously, a portion of the site is located in Sutton and a portion is located in Northbridge. You can see the municipal boundary within the aerial photograph. To the south of the parcel is Oakhurst Road. To the west of the parcel, that's LaSalle Road. North in Northbridge is Main Street. And then you can see to the east of the project is the new solar facility. To the south of the project and to the south of Oakhurst Road is the Sutton Animal Hospital. And that gives you a brief overview of the project site and some of the surrounding land uses in the area. Jen, if you go to the next slide, this is actually a photograph of the project site. In the foreground is Oakhurst Road, where you see Google. To the east is Sutton Solar, that's in the background. And then you see the site in the center of the photograph. Jen, you can go to the next slide, please. So the project site is zoned office light industrial. Within the office light industrial district, the Sutton bylaws do allow for public utilities as a permitted, as a use by right. So the facility is a by right use on the project site. The total combined acreage in both towns is 4.8 acres. The smaller portion of the site is located in Sutton, and I believe it's about 1.2 acres in the town of Sutton. But Brendan from Trimont can correct me if I'm wrong on that. When we were looking at the aerial photograph, we talked about some of the surrounding land uses, which again, to the east is the Sutton Solar site. To the south is the Sutton Animal Hospital and United Medical, that's south of Oakhurst Road. To the west, there's the New England Power Company and Tennessee Gas easements and LaSalle Road. And then again, to the north is the town of Northbridge and the portion of the project parcel owned by Eversource. Jen, you could head to the next slide. The next slide covers the facility, and I'm going to turn it over to Brendan Kearns. He's with Trimont Engineering, and he's done a lot of the engineering on the project.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Brendan.
All right, perfect. Hi. So my name is Brendan Kearns. I'm as Tricia said, I'm the project engineer for the project. I work for Trimont Engineering. As you can see on this slide, it's a summary of the site. We have, we're proposing one building for Eversource, which will be a regulating building, a natural gas regulator building, and one or two buildings for Tennessee Gas. That's still being finalized. The site will have two pad-mounted natural gas heaters, a filter that's going to be mounted on a pad, and also an emergency generator. There'll be a 15-foot wide access driveway with access off of Oakhurst Road. Inside the site, there'll be 4 off-street parking spots, and the perimeter of the site will be surrounded with a 10-foot tall security fence with 1 foot of barbed wire on top of that. Next slide, please. This is our general arrangement plan for the site. You can see the driveway that I just mentioned off of Oakhurst Road. The site is entirely contained within a 120-foot by 100-foot area. You can see on the plan also the setbacks And you can see that the entire fenced in area is within or outside of those setbacks. 20 feet on the east and west, or the sides, and 50 feet on the front of the site. On the eastern side of the site, you'll notice the dark. It's kind of tough to see on the PowerPoint, but there's a proposed property line that's now an existing property line. Eversource just recently entered into a land swap deal with the parcel owners to the right for the solar project. I believe it was to accommodate some setback issues that they were having. However, we adjusted the property line, and that is now an existing property line. We'll get that, and that's one of the changes that we're going to get onto the plans. We'll continue to number for that. Efforts were made overall to minimize environmental impacts. On the west side of the site, you can see just the west of the westernmost fence line, the riverfront area boundary. And you can see that there's no portions of the site within the fence are within that riverfront area. Generally, yes, exactly. Generally speaking, so the gas will enter the west side of the site in a pipe that will be designed by TGP. Inside that little square to the bottom left-hand side of the site, that's what we've been calling the TGP area, and that's where TGP will design the facilities for the gas metering that they need to perform. The gas will then exit their area and proceed in basically a clockwise rotation around the site through a filter and some heaters, and then eventually into the Eversource regulating building, which you can see on the eastern side of the site with all of the piping inside of it. Once the gas exits the building at a lower pressure, it'll proceed underground and meet up with the new existing Eversource natural gas distribution pipe along Oakhurst Road. Next slide. Here is a plan view and some elevation views of the proposed building. It's a precast concrete building that'll be brought to the site in pieces and constructed on the site, put together on the site, I should say. It's approximately 48 feet long by 21 feet wide, and approximately 10 feet in height with the roof and the skylight, if you take that into account. The exterior is going to be a red brick facade. And you can see on the next slide, please, we have an example building on the top of this page. The building is going to essentially look identical to this one. The only difference being is that the proposed building for this project is going to be larger. But the exterior red brick facade will be the same. You can see the tan doors, the metallic louvers or vents, and you can't see it in that picture, but the roof will be black of the proposed Sutton gate station. Down at the bottom of the page are some example colors, and also a picture of what the exterior lights are going to look like that are going to be hung adjacent to the exterior doors. Next slide, please. So talking about construction, the construction length is set to be about 5 to 7 months long, with construction starting in April and ending in the fall. Typically, the plan is it's very important to get the construction completed in preparation for the upcoming heating season. the next point. So the construction time will be limited by using the prefabricated concrete buildings. There won't be any more than 15 vehicles per day. And we've designed a stormwater management system, both permanent and temporary, that's in compliance with Mass DEP stormwater standards. Eversource will also incorporate, various best management practices such as dust suppression, anti-idling, ULSD fuel, covered soils, and dumpsters for building materials as appropriate. Next slide, please. The site will be unstaffed, only one trip per vehicle, or one vehicle trip per week for routine operation. There, as we discussed earlier, and you saw the exterior mounted lights at each door, they'll be activated by switch or by photocell, something that was just recently clarified. So essentially a photocell works by turning on based on reading the outside light intensity. So essentially it'll turn on at nighttime or at dusk and beyond throughout the night. That'll also have an override if Eversource elects to not have the light on. But the lights they're very focused. The photometric plan that we had done shows that at about 15 feet away, there's only one foot candle of intensity, which is similar to twilight hours. The stormwater management plan is based on, the permanent stormwater management plan is based on a pre-treatment vegetated filter strip, along with a infiltration trench to take advantage of some of the well infiltrated soils that we have on the site. And also we have a landscape plan for year-round screening of these. Next slide, please. Here's the permanent stormwater plan. The slope, or sorry, the site naturally grades from east to west very gradually. So we took advantage of that for sheet flow, and based on soil borings that were performed and NRCS, we determined that the soils were had very good infiltration characteristics. And we use that information to put together this stormwater plan, which, like I mentioned, utilizes the 25-foot wide buffer strips. You can see those on the north, on the western sides of the site. So the water will, exactly right, yep. So the water will sheet flow across the site, be pre-treated with the vegetated filter strips, and then will infiltrate into the 3 infiltration trenches we have. And this design is in accordance with 10, or accommodates the 10 mass stormwater standards. Next slide, please. Here's our proposed landscaping plan. So we utilized a combination of trees and understory to achieve year-round screening site. The tree chosen was the eastern red cedar, and the understory chosen was black chokeberry. These are both native species and deer resistant species. The trees and the vegetation will be periodically inspected by Eversource, and any dead or dying vegetation will be addressed by Eversource. Next slide, please. This chart summarizes some of the zoning and dimensional requirements of the site. Going down the right side column, the area of the site is 57,000 square feet, in Sutton 209,000 square feet. I should say parcel, 209,000 square feet total is the size of the parcel for both Sutton and Northbridge. We have 300 feet of frontage, with the requirement being 200. And then, as you saw before on the general arrangement plan, the actual setback from the front of the site to the fence line is 65, where 50 is required. On the sides of the site, we have 25 feet, where 20 feet is required. And at the rear of the site, we actually have, it's 555 feet to the edge of the parcel on the Northbridge side. It's 43 feet to the Northbridge and Sutton town boundary. The height of the building is approximately 10 feet. We're trying to stay under 35 by the zoning bylaw. And the last row is with regards to impervious surfaces. We're at 4.4% for the entire site. If you take into account the entire site, 16.3% if just the Sutton parcel. And those numbers are in reality lower. We took a conservative approach when doing the stormwater plan and assumed that the entire TGP area was impervious. And that's not going to be the case. Next slide, please. Building area, employees, seating capacity, and parking. So the area of the Eversource building at about 48 by 21 is 1,000 square feet. Our best estimate right now is that the TGP buildings will take up about 250 square feet. As I mentioned before, there's no employees. It's unstaffed during operation. Seating capacity is not applicable. And we've proposed 4 parking spaces, which Tricia will address additionally in the next slide.
Okay, so as part of the site plan approval application, we've looked at the zoning bylaw and the tables in there that specify the dimensions and requirements. There is 1 space per 1,000 square feet of net floor space. We are, like Brendan said, we're proposing 4 spaces for parking. We're estimating about 1,000 square feet of net floor space for Eversource and about 250 square feet of net floor space for the TGP facility, which will be either in 1 building or 2 buildings that was mentioned previously. We are not proposing any off-street loading spaces, and we did file a waiver request on October 29th for the request of no off-street loading spaces. We believe no off-street loading spaces are needed during operation because the facility will not receive regular deliveries of either equipment or materials. The implications for the off-street loading space will increase the impervious area unnecessarily, and the off-street loading space would not adversely impact the public interest, and the waiver to the required 1 off-street loading space would not adversely impact any natural resources as well. So we're requesting the planning board issue a waiver to the requirement for the 1 off-street loading space requirement. Going back to the 4 proposed parking spaces, the 4 proposed parking spaces do meet the dimensional requirements in table 6. So these spaces will be 9 feet in width. They'll have a depth of 25 feet, which exceeds the 18-foot depth requirement. And the driveway width, as Brendan mentioned, is 15 feet for the entire length. So Jen, if you want to go to the next slide. So I think I probably just covered this. This is, again, the request for the waiver to the off-street loading space that we just talked about. So you can jump to the next slide. So we did do an assessment of the permits and approvals that would be required from the town. We are here today with you for the site plan review approval. We filed our application October 7th. We did file some response to comments from the planning director, Jennifer Hager, on October 29th, as well as the Board of Assessor comments. We also filed those on October 29th. We are in receipt of Graves Engineering comments on the application. We received those on October 29th, and we're still in the process of responding to those, and we will provide written responses to the Graves Engineering comments. We did file an wetlands notice of intent with the Conservation Commission. The first hearing was held on October 21st. That hearing is continued. The Conservation Commission is interested in seeing what the planning board's comments are on the project. So that is continued to their next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is actually this coming Wednesday. We will be filing a driveway permit application and a building permit application and an application for a road opening permit as well. So that summarizes the applications filed with the town or to be filed with the town. Other approvals required for the project, we will need coverage under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Construction General Permit, because we will be disturbing equal to or greater than 1 acre. As part of that review and approval under the Construction General Permit, we did file a project notification form with the Massachusetts Historical Commission. That PNF was filed with Massachusetts Historical Commission in late August, August 25th. We have not received a response from Mass Historic, and so we can conclude that they do not have any concerns for the project. You can go to the next slide. I think that was it for as far as our presentation, but we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Oh, thank you. Is there anybody not on the board? Do they have any comments on this? I'm going to have to recuse myself from this conversation because I had a computer issue for about 15 minutes here. So do the board members have any comments?
I just have a question because I've been looking at the bylaws and I'm trying to understand. This is the OLI district. I'm trying to understand where this is permitted.
This is a public utility except for power plant. Wally, did you say you wanted to any other board comments first?
Yeah, I don't hear anything. So Jen, what comments do you have at this point?
Epsilon did respond to the majority of my comments. There was I'm just flipping through those comments. We do need to address that waiver request for loading whenever you're ready to do that. But the majority of my comments have been addressed. They were not significant. They did a pretty good job of reviewing the bylaws and going through those requirements in detail. So I don't have any huge outstanding issues. As Tricia noted, Graves Engineering provided their comments on Friday. So you will need to continue to allow them to address those comments. There were Mike or Scott or somebody departmental comments, if you want to go over those. I can read them as well if need be.
I don't have access to them on my Apple here.
I can read a few of them, Wally. Regarding the payment of taxes, the above party currently does not owe any taxes to the town. We also had a comment from the fire chief, and he said his one comment was a dual fire department, meaning Sutton and Northbridge, Knox box required for emergency access to site.
There were some comments from Nick Nunemacher. He is on the Board of Assessors. He is also a registered land surveyor. The facilities to be connected to the Tennessee gas pipeline that runs north-south. These comments were addressed in Epsilon's written comments, but no connection to that pipeline is shown. The pipeline location is heavily screened, barely visible. So that was, I guess, a concern. What water supply is readily available? What is the TGP area, which I'll let you guys address that one more time. And what is the anticipated date of service start on the facility? So if you guys just want to roll over those, Trisha or Sam or one of the, Brendan, one of the team members. Trisha?
Sure, we can. I
Sure.
guess
Yeah.
I'm thinking it would be helpful if we address them one at a time. I don't know.
Sure. Can you address their first concern, which is that right now they feel like it would be very well too screened? I didn't sense that, but if you could address that.
Sorry, they think we need 2 screens?
No, it says the pipeline location is heavily screened and barely visible. They think the facility is not going to be very visible. I assume that that's a safety concern, even though these are the assessor's comments. Mr. Nunemacher, having been an ex-planning board member and fire department staff, as well as a registered land surveyor, tends to put in comments that aren't really assessor related, but that are often appreciated, and he is a town resident. So he seems to be expressing a concern with the facility being too screened, I believe it looks like it's in the field portion of the site. Is that correct?
Jen, I think I can, this is
Okay.
Brennan. I think I can speak to this. I interpreted his comment as the existing conditions shown on the plan are kind of screened out or faded.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to the proposed conditions. And if you need to look closely if you want to try to see where the existing TGP line is. It's on the left side of this plan. It's maybe you might be able to see it better if you scroll up to the general arrangement plan. Actually go back down right there. See, we fixed it on this plan, but on the stormwater plan, see on the left side of the page, there's a black line going from the top of the page to the bottom. Yes, that one right there. That is the existing Tennessee gas pipeline.
Okay. So it's just cleaner and clearer now. You can see
Correct.
where that is.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, great. So that's nice and clear. Can you talk about water supply, why you do or do not need water supply? Obviously, the district fire chief did not seem to have a concern with that. Maybe just understands the nature of the natural gas installations in this facility a little bit more thoroughly. But if you could address that for anybody who might share those concerns.
Sure, I can take this one. Again, I don't know if we all heard during the presentation, it was mentioned that this is not a residential facility. It is not going to be occupied by anybody. Visit is only limited to once a week. So just like all the other facilities we have, we do not think any water supply is going to be required, again, because this is a gas facility. It's not going to be occupied by anybody. So we didn't think there was any need to have any water supply at this location.
Well, he commented in particular on hydrants. So I assume as an ex-member of the fire department, he's thinking about fire suppression. So
Okay. Yeah, I can address that one also. Another thing that I guess we can bring up at this point is this facility, just like most of our modern facilities, is going to have a flame detection system and a gas detection system. So these devices are highly sensitive, and they're going to be connected to a control room that we have in Southborough. In addition, these fire detectors and gas detectors, they are going to have a visible and audible alarm. So if for any reason there's a fire which is never going to occur, we have a gas control room that is manned 24/7. So we're going to have a visible and audible alarm. Another point I wanted to mention is we have designed this facility in a way that ensures that all sources of ignition will be at least 20 feet away from any flammable fluid. All the electrical equipment that we've used, none of them is an unclassified equipment. The other point I wanted to mention is in most of our modern facilities, just like the Sutton gate station, we usually furnish them with an emergency shutdown valve. What this does is these valves, they give you the ability to remotely shut down the valves from a control center, which we have in Southborough also. So think of it this way: if if for any reason you have a fire and you're able to eliminate the flammable fluid, you've basically contained the situation. So these valves, they give us the ability to remotely shut them down. And finally, if you go back to the site plan, on the east side of the property, you're gonna notice, if you look closely, we have a door on the east side of the building. So basically from that door to a main gate is a beeline from the door to the main gate. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that we have egress designed in a way that you can easily leave the facility. So on the east fence line, we have a main gate that is a beeline from a door that is on the east side of that building. So these are some of the considerations that we've included during the design, which again makes us feel confident that fire suppression system will not be required, again, because we have all these considerations built into our design.
Yeah, I could also add to Samuel's one thing. I think that was good, but the emergency shutdown valves at the inlet to every building, they close at 180 degrees. So if there was a fire in the room, the gas would automatically close. Not that, fires are very uncommon because all the wiring is intrinsically safe. There's no source of ignition. But given that there's also no flammable material stored in there. So as far as extinguishing the fire, it's always the intent to isolate the gas.
Okay, and who was that talking now, Mark?
Yeah, that was Mark.
Okay.
Well,
Mr. Lamb.
I have a question relative to that then. So these buildings don't have inert gas fire suppression systems in them?
No, they don't, because there's really, the only thing flammable in them is the gas itself. So our fires, our plan in a fire is to isolate the gas, and that extinguishes the fire.
Stop the source, okay.
Where are those emergency valves located?
I can take that one. We have many of those valves in the building. If you look in the building, you're gonna see on each of those runs. So in our building, we have 3 different piping runs. On each of those runs, we have multiple valves that are, that we can operate remotely.
But they're all enclosed inside the building.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Do we have any more comments from the board? If not, then we can hopefully go to some comments from the public if there are any of those. Any more board comments? Bob, if you have any, if you want to unmute yourself. No, I'm getting a head shake over there on that. No.
I'm all set. I'm out of my-
Awesome.
And they have covered the Knox box as part of the plan.
Yeah, that'll be on the revised plan, I believe. Tricia has assured me of that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so if there's any public comment, if a person could unmute themselves and or you can raise your hand inside of the participant kind of page. I can watch and see if you raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and just call attention to yourself, and we'll try not to let this go crazy. And I can run down the list of two. We have a phone person, last three numbers 634. We have Shannon Grondin. We have, let me just see, Kevin McCaffrey and John, who I believe are on the other project team, but if not, Jeff Pipling, iPad 5, Chase Bernier, Brad is Parsons is on the other project team. Any of those people have any comments?
Well, we don't hear anything, so I guess the recommendation might be to continue this till we get all the final documentation.
Well, I think you can address that loading space waiver request unless you feel differently. They certainly don't need a loading space at this facility.
Through the chair, this is Bob Largess, and I'd like to make a motion that we waive the, what is it? It's a loading, what's it called?
Loading space. You know,
We won't be-
normally,
We won't be needing a loading platform at this location, so we can waive that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mike Gagan.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the board? And we will have a vote. I'm going to abstain because I lost part of this whole conversation. Bill,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
So the vote for the parking area passes 4-0-1. The loading dock, excuse me. Yeah.
There weren't any other parking issues that need to be addressed for waivers?
it depends on you. They only need one space. They're providing 4 spaces. So normally if you're going up in number, unless you're likely to negatively affect the environment with the increase in the number of spaces, we usually don't worry about a waiver on that. If you want to grant a waiver to allow them to put in 3 more spaces, then they're required to put in. We can do that too. I didn't necessarily think that was necessary, but that's up to you.
No, that's fine with me.
All right.
Jen, can I just make one quick comment on that? So the Eversource facility needs the 1 parking space. We did account for the TGP area as well, which is the 250. So I think that would push us to two spaces. Just for when you receive TGP's application, we've accounted for their parking space in our application.
Perfect. I just want to make sure the board is in agreement that the way we have this currently, this process designed right now is that TGP, the Tennessee Gas Pipeline, will come in separately under site plan review for any structures and equipment that are in their area, because these are 2 autonomous companies, even though they kind of have to hook together for everything to work. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that and that we will be getting a site plan application for TGP. You can certainly make this approval conditional on that one, but in effect it is. So,
Jen, through the chair, Jen, I do have a question. One of the notes you brought up was the hours of operation for the construction. I know
Right.
you brought up that we should be discussing that. Is this the time we should do that as well?
I don't know if you need to discuss it now, but that's something to think about. The proposal is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday with some Sundays. And they have provided reasoning for that if the team wants to go over that. And then if you want to discuss that now, we can, or you can wait until we get to the point when we're putting those conditions on. That's up to you. Does anybody on the team want to address that?
We could wait until we do the conditions if you want to.
Yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Chairman, however you want to go, we'll definitely need to do a continuance. The next board meeting is November the 16th.
Well, why don't we continue this to the November the 16th?
And at that point, we'll be getting a written response to the Graves Engineering comments. And any other comments that may or may not come in between now and then.
Sounds good.
So I need a motion, November 16th, 7 p.m.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mike Gagan.
Okay. Any comments? Hearing none, the chair votes aye. Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Michael?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0-0.
All right, so we will see the team on the 16th at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Okay, the next item up is the is for a common driveway, large-scale solar project. Michael, if you could please read this. This is was scheduled originally for 7:10. It's now 7:55.
Planning board time.
Planning board time, right.
In accordance with the provisions of the Sutton zoning bylaw, section 4C, site plan review, 6.1 common driveways, and 6.0 large scale solar photovoltaic. The planning board will hold a hearing on the applications of CTEC Solar LLC of Bloomfield, Connecticut. The application proposes to install a 2.3 megawatt large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installation on land owned by Barbara Fusaro at 161 Amesbury Road. The applications also propose to designate and utilize a portion of land under easement on the adjacent property at 223 Worcester Providence Turnpike, owned by Atlas Box LLC, as a common driveway. The hearing will be held on Monday, November 2nd, 2020 at 7:10 planning time.
Do we have anyone here that represents the applicant?
Good evening, Commissioner. This is Bradley Parsons with All Points Technology Corporation. I'm here on behalf of CTEC. With me from CTEC, I have Jeff Pipeling, who's the Director of Business Development, and Kevin McCaffrey, who is also my senior engineer. And also in attendance is John Altamore on behalf of the property owner. So with that, I'd like to get started, and then I will turn some of the detailed engineering over to Kevin McCaffrey. As stated, CTEC is here for a special permit for a large-scale solar project, as well as a common driveway application. Actually, sorry, it's a site plan review, not a special permit. One of the things that we wanted to make mention as part of this submittal, the property owner has acknowledged that his parcel here, parcel 18-61, where the solar facility will be located on, which is actually pursuant to Massachusetts case law. They've acknowledged that the parcel 18-61 and 229 Worcester Providence Turnpike parcels number 18-67 and 18-68 are considered merged lots under the doctrine of merger. Jen is highlighting those two lots. The larger of the two lots is the lot where the solar voltaic will go, and the existing lot in the front has a current pre-existing non-conforming use of a one-family detached year-round dwelling. So with that, before we get into the site plan stuff, I did want to just go over a couple of waiver requests. One request is, at this time, the applicant is requesting a waiver from the requirements of the Route 146 overlay district, as the project is not proposing a new building and the project is located on a rear lot that does not abut Route 146. Additionally, we're also requesting a waiver for the requirement of a separate landscaping plan, as the proposed visual screening and seating are shown on the current plan set with additional sufficient detail. Lastly, as we'll discuss a little more in the presentation here of the plan, while I don't believe this is a specific waiver request, the applicant is requesting that the work within the buffer be considered an upgrade by the board, and that is the 100-foot buffer between existing zones. That is footnote 9 of the zoning table. The existing site consists of tall pines without much underbrush, and the applicant is proposing to upgrade the area to improve the visual screening. The applicant is using the excavated material generated from the site to construct a berm or slope within the buffer to help improve visual screenings of the solar panels. In addition, the berm or slope will be planted with Spartan junipers along the residential zone to the south and up the east to the transmission line corridor. And additionally, the fence in some cases will have privacy slats as well. And I think with that, I will turn the presentation over to Kevin to talk some more details about the facility itself.
Thanks, Fred. Jen, is it possible for you to zoom in on that sheet just a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. So we'll just start right at the entrance. Part of the submittal was for a common driveway application. There was an existing easement in place with the Atlas Box facility to have a shared driveway on a portion of their entrance, which is shown on the sheet before this with just the boundary survey. So that hatched area you see there down by the entrance, that's the area that we were proposing would be the common driveway. So that would serve both Atlas Box and the solar field. It's one of the questions we got back from Jen was why the common driveway, and that needs to have some justification, safety or for other reasons. And there is an
Kevin,
existing.
you're just a little hard to hear. I don't know if it's a speaker position or if you just need to speak up a little bit.
Is this any better?
I think a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, so as I said, one of Jen's comments was to justify the common driveway proposal. And in our mind, it's safer to enter into that existing curb cut for Atlas. There is a driveway for the residential structure, but it's not going to handle construction traffic, the trucks that will need to get in there. And it's also not very safe to be turning directly off 146 into that narrow spot. So starting at the private driveway, which is right by that tractor trailer in the aerial, there's going to be a fairly steep and significant climb to get up into the site. There's almost 50 feet of elevation to get up into the field where the panels are proposed. So I talked with the fire chief, and I was looking for any kind of design recommendations he had on a slope there. And he didn't really have anything in writing. So at this point, we have that private driveway at 12%. It's got a short section right at the entrance that's less than 12%. It's 3 to 5% for a little bit of a landing there. And then you can see the proposed contours labeled there, east of that curve. So that's all going to be a cut right there. So there's going to be a pretty significant amount of earthwork. Our strategy was to balance the earthwork on site. We didn't want to bring anything in or take anything out, aside from finished materials like for the gravel road surface and that kind of thing. So that's where most of this material or all of the material for the berms is going to originate. And there are also some portions of the field that were a little too steep for the solar panels. So we've managed to work it all out. So it does all balance on site. We received Graves' letter, and one of their comments was designating the amount of earthwork on the plans, and just for info, that's around 26,000 yards. So it's quite a bit of earth to move around. Our thinking is that rather than starting right at the entrance and building that road with the amount of earthwork, I think they're really going to need to crawl up with machinery into the center of the site and start to work their way down, and start excavating that road cut, pull that material out, and set those berms behind them, basically. So I think one of the things you'll see later in the process is when they actually punch through and form that driveway entrance. At that point, the road above it should all be pretty well roughed in. So we can talk about stormwater for a minute. The site has very good soils. With the NRCS rating, it's the most highly infiltrative of their classifications. It's real sandy. So a very limited amount of formal stormwater is needed for the final site, after everything's stabilized. We have one infiltration shown at the south end, right there. Infiltration basin there, which is pretty shallow. It's less than 2 feet. And then along that access road, we're calling for rock line swales on each side of that would not have fines in the material. So that will provide additional infiltration. And the idea would be that there's no there's no surface outflows to the common driveway or to the street, and everything stays on site and is equal to or less than what happens on site now. So you can leave it right there, Jen. That's fine. I wanted to talk about the perimeter of the site a little bit, and these berms and the landscape screening. So we have abutters on most of the south and east sides, and there's residential structures mixed through those parcels. So our approach was to set these berms along those areas where we might have a concern for visibility. And then we also set the juniper landscaping along the crest of that. At this time, we're calling for those to be about 3 to 4 feet at install. Once those take hold, they reportedly grow about a foot a year. So we're going to run that berm and screening all along the south side, all along the southeast corners, and sort of as the topography starts to top out on that eastern side. The other thing we are proposing for visual screening is that eastern fence, pretty much that whole straightaway on that east side. We're proposing to have vinyl privacy slats to limit visibility. That stippled hatch you see around the perimeter is a 25-foot width of no clearing. So the existing woods will be left in place there. And then the thinking is that this other screening we're doing would prevent being able to see through the understory of those larger trees. They are pretty tall. They're on the 75 to 100-foot range, most of them. I guess that's the summary. Like I said, pretty limited stormwater. There is one cross culvert on the access road towards the south end that goes into that infiltration basin. Graves, we did receive Graves comments last week. We haven't had a chance to address those formally on the drawings, but we did go through those. One of the comments had to do with construction laydown, construction parking, and those types of things. And we think there's plenty of area at the south end by the Hammerhead turnaround between the access road and the infiltration basin. We're going to get some room in there, and then also off to that southeast corner. And they also were looking for a longer stub on that turnaround, which is fine. We've got room to do that. So, Jen, you sent us a list of comments. I'm going to just run through those real quick just to make sure I touched on that stuff. Yeah, just to make it perfectly clear to everyone, if you're not already aware, we are on the zoning boundary between residential and the new zone, and that's why we're not entering through that small arm that touches Armsby Road, because that's in the residential zone. So the panel, you had asked about the height of the racking of panels. I'd say in general, they're going to be about 3 feet above grade on the low side and then around 8 feet on the upper end. And the system they're proposing here is a 20-degree tilt. The total generation capacity is proposed at 2.3 megawatts. And that's DC. 5,400 solar modules to get that output. Jen, you had asked about the overhead utility line. So all the electric lines will be underground throughout the site, except right down at the entrance. There'll be a short run that goes overhead and connects into that existing utility pole. That's standard practice with these solar fields. Everything's underground until it comes near the interconnection, and then it goes above ground. And that's a large part of that is to deal with the utility and their access to it, and all the metering and switchgear that's going to be needed for both the utility and the applicant. So in our response to you, Jen, we said that that would be elevated far enough above the common driveway, so that's not going to interfere with their truck traffic. So yeah, then Brad touched on the waivers. touched on the landscape plan. And we saw your comment about decommissioning, and that's fine. We can work on that. I think, as we said in the letter, we request that be a condition of approval, but we can get started on that and then start working through that process with you. So I think I'll leave it at that as far as an overview, but we're obviously happy to talk through the details and answer any questions you have.
Is there anybody else that's part of this presentation?
Yes, I'll just ask, sorry, Commissioner, I'll just ask if Jeff Pipling or John had anything to offer or clarify.
Yeah, this is Jeff Pipling. No, we're all set at this point. Thanks, Brad.
Okay. Do any of the board members have any comments? Hearing none, is there anybody out there in the public that is tuned into this for this particular case? Okay.
I have a question though, just for my knowledge. What's the acreage on this site?
It is 12.33 acres.
And it seems like the elevation, this is going to be from a road from the 146. You're not really going to see this because it's up above grade by 40 or 50 feet.
That's correct. You may catch a slight glimpse of it heading southbound on 146, but I would think, just based on the screening that's currently there in the opening width of Atlas Box's driveway area, it's going to be a slight view there.
Yeah, I had that same concern as you come south on 146. You do have some vegetation here. And you do have a little bit back over here with Atlas Box, but this is all being stripped right here, right? And then through here.
That's correct.
All right. And you do have this.
The other issue, unfortunately, too, is we have from a screening standpoint on that side, we actually have the topography kind of working against us in a sense that it is pretty much half the site drains to that northwest, which is actually south on the page towards the former Atlas Box parcel, now unified. So everything kind of drains that way. So our solar kind of sits up, even though we'll do the privacy slats along that. And we can even do it along the unified side if required. I just don't know if it's going to, due to the topography, going to screen as much as we would potentially like there.
Right. My only concern there, and I don't know, maybe it's a condition, is that, how much you'll pick up this side of the fence in terms of driving in a sunny day and changing grade from this position up through this position is substantial, right?
Correct. You're going up a good, Kevin, I don't know if you have that figure right in
40, 50 feet.
Yeah,
right?
40 or 50. I mean, maybe not 40, maybe it's about 30 feet from the edge of Atlas Box driveway right to the kind of the edge of the facility, but then we go up another 10 to 15 feet into the facility, I believe.
All right, so your steepness is here.
Yep.
And then this to this is
That's still another 35 feet elevation change across the field. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, I mean, these don't really, they're designed not to reflect light really. I was just thinking, how visible is this chain link fence and will it catch light and create any distraction? Should that be black vinyl coated or, that was my only thing, how much will this be exposed and will the fencing at all just catch light or reflect light and create any kind of visual issue. And that could just be a condition that, no, once it's in, you can't really fix it. So I don't just maybe.
I would say I don't think I don't think we have an issue with that being black vinyl.
Then it would just eliminate that it would reflect.
Yep. Agreed. And the other thing, I think the panels, when you're looking at those, from that angle, obviously they'll be facing a little more south. So you're really not going to be looking right at the panels either.
No. All right. So, if you do a last round of plan revisions, when you do Jeff Walsh's, if there's any required for Jeff, just, show what sections of fence would be black vinyl and which ones would have slats as well.
Okay.
Wally, through the chair, I just have a question for Jen, if I could.
Go right ahead.
I was just wondering, Jen, if you've heard anything updated on Atlas Box, being the property right next to it with the, I know there's an easement, but have they responded in any way? Okay, any problems with it or anything from them?
Yeah, what's interesting on this one, and I'm hoping it will resolve before the next meeting, is that our applications, as you know, require the owner to sign the applications. The common driveway is located entirely on Atlas Box's property, and they did not sign the application. I know Mr. Fusaro reached out to Atlas Box, and I also reached out to Atlas Box. They said they were just waiting to see the plans and some drainage, but they do have an easement and an easement agreement you've been provided that basically says, it lays out where the easements are, and that they basically, the two property owners won't really stand in each other's way on permitted development. But you do have an application that's not signed by the owner, which I did express to Art Mahassel, the president, and Frank Tavares, the manager, that the board wants their assent for that common driveway application. I did reach out to council just briefly, and they certainly said, the board can enforce that signature needs to be there. We also do have some flexibility to say, look, there's an easement in place that is a legal right, and depending on how you read the easement, or if you want council to read the easements, maybe that express permission is not necessary. But I did reach out to Atlas Box again today. Again, they said they're just reviewing the drainage, taking a quick look at the plans. They did not express any specific concerns about anything. So I'll reach back out to them again tomorrow and try to make sure we clean that issue up. And I'm sure Mr. Fusaro will be doing the same.
Jen, if I may, this is John Altamari. I represent the Fusaros.
John?
So we do have an easement agreement that was dated back in 2008, which gives us the right to use the driveway and to make curb cuts off of the driveway, to use their drainage systems. And, there are some limitations there. And when I was talking to Attorney Dawson, who represents Atlas Box, he was indicating that their main concern was, what is the ramification of this project on the drainage? He wanted to know whether or not we're tying into the drainage, which we are not. He wanted a letter from our engineer stating that we weren't tying into the drainage, which I'm sure we're going to get to him. And we were also talking about what kind of traffic there was going to be associated with the project. My conversations with him, I think he was happy that there's going to be little to no traffic for the operations to this, obviously because of the nature of the project. We had this information sometime. I think they didn't understand how quickly we needed it, but we are going to get to them any information that they need to make a decision so that we can get you whatever you need as far as the owner's signature. But I can provide to you, if you haven't seen it already, the easement agreement, which does give us the right to use the driveway.
Yes.
We have that here.
Mr. Fusaro provided that, and your comments are consistent with my last brief exchange with Mr. Mahassel that they were primarily looking for the drainage plans, which I did provide them over the, it was either over the weekend, it might have been on Friday afternoon, but Friday afternoon or Saturday, I emailed those over to them to make sure they had them.
Right, and whatever information they need to make the, just to be a good neighbor, to make a decision, we're happy to provide to them.
This is Brad Parsons. I can say that I've already drafted the letter that they've requested with regards to the drainage, and we should probably have that over to Attorney Altamore tomorrow to forward off to everybody.
Mr. Chairman, Brad brought up early on some potential waiver requests. If you want to kind of tick down some of those and just see if you're comfortable acting on any of those.
Yeah, why don't we go through that list?
All right, I think the first one Brad mentioned was whether they needed a waiver from the Route 146 overlay. I'm going to read you the first paragraph of that regulation, and then you can just tell me as a board if you think this regulation applies or does not apply to this particular kind of project. So this bylaw is adopted as an overlay district. These standards shall apply to any development proposing a new building or a redevelopment or addition containing 1,000 or more square feet of floor area or requiring the alteration of 5 or more parking spaces. That's
I don't think it applies.
I don't think it applies either.
No. No.
I'm not a board member though. So I got one board member, that Bill saying no. Bob?
Bob Largest, no.
Scott,
No.
Mike,
Mike Gagan, no.
Wally Baker, no.
All right, so you don't need a waiver from Route 146 overlay because the board has just determined it does not apply. Okay, let me go. You're talking about landscaping. I'm sorry, I just gotta organize my messy files here.
Should.
You did actually.
Yeah, Wally, should we, I'm assuming, and I hope why Atlas wouldn't send a letter to make the projects to move forward, but it all kind of hinges on that. Anything else we do will follow afterwards. Are we putting things backwards, doing waiver requests if we don't have a way to get onto the property? And I'm assuming everything's gonna go smooth and quickly. Everything that I'm hearing from all the properties that talk here tonight. And I can't imagine why Atlas Box wouldn't be looking at they should look at closely, and they've had the right to use over this common drive all the rest of these years. So it's time to be a good neighbor, move this forward.
Well, frankly, I would feel better if we did have a signature here,
Right.
confirming this whole thing. So maybe we should just continue this, and then at that point, because if we don't get a signature, then maybe some of this whole project is moot. Just continue it, and then we can address the waiver issues at that point in time. What do you think of that, Bob?
I agree with that.
Okay.
And I think it looks like a good use of the property. It's clearly it has all merit, and it's a good use of the property. It's not going to be building a school or anything like that. We don't need school buses. So it's a good use of the property. I like to see it move forward.
Mr. Chair, this is John Altamari. If I could just jump in for a quick moment.
Yes, sir.
So not that we're anticipating an issue, but I don't think we actually need the signature of Atlas Box because we have rights to the property. We have rights in the road. They can't deny us that we have a right to use the driveway, to have a curb cut, off the driveway, which is not on their property, but on our property as well. We have rights to lay utilities, rights to the drainage, etc. So, you know, there is a vested interest in the land, which is recorded, which I think gives us the ability to go forward with or without their signature. Obviously, we want their signature rather than not have it. Obviously, we want to be a good neighbor, and we're giving them the opportunity to look at this. And if they have any objections, to work with us with respect to those objections and to get by them. But I don't think it's a project that they can hold us up on because of their failure to execute the driveway easement. Hopefully we don't have to go down that road, but the easement, I think, is in front of you now, and I think if you examine that or give it to your counsel to examine, he's going to tell you exactly what I just told you.
Okay. Jen, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not, I'm not equipped to get into this kind of a detailed conversation. Jen,
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess what we can do is try to, hopefully everything will resolve shortly. And if not, then the applicant would need to agree to, pay to have town council just take a look at that and make sure that they're comfortable on the town's, as advisor, legal advisor to the board, with the board proceeding with just the easement in place and not a signature. But hopefully we won't need to go there.
Yeah, Peter Dawson indicated that they really were just trying to gather information, that they weren't going to hold us up. They wanted to know where the curb cut was with respect to the driveway. Was it at the beginning of the driveway or towards the end? I think we made them happy with the way it was designed. They have to be happy with the drainage because we're not tying into their drainage system at all. You already heard how, the property itself handles a lot of the runoff. So we're not anticipating an objection from them, but if we have to go down that road, we'd be happy to pay the town to engage counsel to advise you on the rights. But if we could go as far as we can tonight, in anticipation that there's going to be a happy ending to this, that would help us move the project along with some speed. And if we have to go down the road that we just talked about, obviously we will. But
through the chairperson, I'm happy to move forward, having heard all your conversations. It's kind of like the bylaw on signs. We try to always let people know that they don't start spending money yet. and you let us get a look at it first. So we can afford all these waivers, but I want the record, the minutes will say that we move forward, and it's not going to be something that the applicant is going to say to Atlas, saying to Atlas, you're holding this up, because we don't want to hold anybody up. We want this to move forward. And that was the only reason I suggested if we had the application, then I'm willing to move forward with everything here. But if you want to do some of it now without the signature, I'll be happy to weigh in on those.
Mr. Chairman, did we ask for public comment, Mr. Chairman? I just don't recall.
I thought I did, but we'll try it again. And is there anybody in the public that wants to comment on this?
Yes, I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
Shannon?
Could you identify yourself, please?
Shannon Grondin, I'm an abutter.
Okay, Ms. Grondin.
We have some concerns about, with all the trees being taken down, the noise from 146, if we're going to be hearing more of that. The other issue that I'm looking at is, I know they're talking about putting up a berm. Are we going to be able to see any of this?
Let's see where they are, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me pull you up here. Share screen. Sorry, I'm just sharing the screen so we can see where you are here. There we go. All right, Shannon, where are you located? Let's see.
94 Stone School Road.
20 Diaz. I don't see you. Let me just try another one here. 94 Stone School.
While you're looking for that, Jen, how does the decommissioning work? Is there a bond that gets posted on that?
Yeah, bond gets posted.
Okay. All right, and then through the chair, is there any sound associated with these projects? Noise?
So this is Brad Parsons with All Points. I can answer that question, Mr. Chairman. There is, after construction is completed, the only noise that is associated with this facility is the inverters and the transformers. The inverters, when you look at those, they emit around 60 decibels at 3 meters or 9 feet. And that sound will dissipate over that length. The inverters will be located closer to the Atlas box parcel, right where Jen is showing there. And just to give an idea, the 60 decibels is equivalent to a refrigerator running.
Oh, okay.
And that's all located by the Atlas box?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay.
And I believe, Jen, we did take, when we had presented to the, I think I forgot to mention this, we had actually been before the board, it was almost 2 years ago now, a little over 2 years ago now, where we had presented very informally at that time. So we did actually prepare some site graphics that, Jen, I believe Kevin sent those over to you via email, and we can actually show the sight lines from that parcel. We actually have a sight line done from that parcel.
Okay, let me try to find it here. Those came from
Kevin. There you go.
Oh.
Kevin, I don't know if you want to talk through this.
In here.
Yeah, it's up to you, either you or me, Brad. You know, I don't think we have one exactly from the caller's residence, but we have one just to the west of there.
All right, so these red lines are these sight lines.
Yes, correct.
So
Yeah,
this is the person calling in right here. This is the Grondin's house here at 94 Stone School. Yeah, so
probably the 3A is actually the best because those houses sit around the same topography level.
Okay, let's go
So
down.
I believe if you go to the second page, it should show these sight lines, and they actually show the proposed earthwork as well.
Oops, sorry.
Right at the bottom of that last page there.
Sorry, it's just not being nice to me. Sorry. There's 3.
It's right at the bottom, so there you go.
Careful. Okay. So you're saying this represents about this elevation of the house?
Correct. So you can see as you're able to zoom in there, and I know it's probably gonna go off kilter a minute there.
That's okay, I'll find it.
One thing we did actually notice in this, as we were setting these sight lines here, we had the proposed screening planting a little closer to the property line. So one thing we were actually going to do is take the plantings and shift those back closer to the fence line there. So that's the new proposed location, which is much closer to the fence. And as you can see, that plant is actually shown at a 5-foot elevation level. and those grow to a maximum of 15 feet in height. And as Kevin mentioned earlier, they grow about 1 foot a year. They're basically a dwarf evergreen. So they allow for screening, but don't compromise the solar facility with regards to shading. So you can see even both from the first floor and the second floor here with the change in the earthwork and building that berm and slope up there, we're actually forcing the sight line from the residents up and over top of the solar facility. So they, maybe during the first year, they might catch the top of a panel or two, but after year 2 or 3, with those evergreens filling in, that should pretty much fully screen that facility from the residents.
Thank you.
No problem.
Shannon, I'm happy to send you this material. So if you want to just reach out to my office tomorrow, 865-8729, or just email me through the town's website, I will pop this information over to you. And if you think anything's missing, just let me know.
Great, thank you very much.
Is there anyone else out there in the general public that wants to comment on this?
If you can hear me, I'd like to say something.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
What is your?
To go to page 6 of the Atlas Box Agreement.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name is Julio Fazaro. I'm Barbara Fazaro, property owner's husband.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I believe that's page 6 right there.
Page 6, I can't get, but is there a signature on that page? Is that the signature page?
Oh, no, this is 7. That's Art Mahassel's signature. Yep.
There it is, right there, correct? And my wife's as well?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay. So what are the other, we haven't talked about what the other town area departments thought about. There are no taxes owed on this for map 1860 and parcel 61, and the fire department wants a Knox box or Knox padlock required at the gate for emergency access to the site. Those are the two comments we got from the other departments. So how many more, do we have more waivers, Jen?
We had landscaping. They just did not provide a separate landscape plan. They obviously do show landscaping on the plan. The bylaw had some language about showing what the existing cover is, kind of specifying what that is, which I don't think was necessarily specified on the existing plan. You can kind of see it in the aerials, a mix of deciduous and pines. But that was not specified on the plans. They do have a landscaping plan, as was noted, that shows the Sargent junipers, which are the fast growing junipers. I did make a comment by email after I got the revised plans that Sargent junipers only grow to a width of about 3 to 5 feet. So the current proposal of 8 foot on center, that needs to be reduced. Those need to be closer together. They recommend for a solid screening that they be no more than 2.5, which is a little tight if you ask me. But in no case should they be planted less than 5 feet on center, if not a little bit closer to achieve that full screening that's intended. So I don't think they need a waiver, because I don't think you need a separate sheet. They have now specified the plants. I've asked them to add the planting height onto the plans. They have called out the species on the variety, and they need to just put the size and adjust the on-center planting distance. And then I think they'll be fine with the landscaping provisions. The buffer discussion, it's there's a general discussion that needs to take place in terms of setbacks and buffers. And the buffer provision that they were referring to is, I'm going to read that to you. It's a footnote to the table of use, and it reads as such. Any principal use allowed per the table of use, sections B through H in a non-residential district, and I'm going to pull this up so you can kind of look at it as we talk, shall be at least 100 feet from any residential zoning district boundary as indicated on the Sutton zoning map, unless the use is permitted by right in the abutting residential district, which this use is not permitted by right. Any principal use, blah, blah, blah. Let me see, this buffer, the 100-foot buffer, shall remain in its undisturbed state or may be upgraded. The area of said buffer may be counted toward the open space requirements on a lot for the purpose of applying this requirement only if open space, if 60% or more is in the business highway, 2 office light industrial or industrial, the entire lot shall be considered to be in the district. So there's a number of questions. The first one is what portion of this project the board considers to be the principal use. So is the principal use just the panels? Is it the panels and the fencing? Is it the panels, the fencing, the screening? Is it the panels, the fencing, the screening, the access drive, and the shade clearing area that's required to keep sun off the panels? What portion of what you see here does the board consider to be the principal use here? So that's the first question. And then we can look at the bylaw required setbacks and the zoning district required setbacks. And then briefly just discuss open space. So thoughts on principal use?
I would think that would be just the actual units themselves.
Okay.
Well, largest, I would consider the solar panels. That's what I'm considering.
Okay.
Scott Paul, I would agree.
Okay.
Mike Gagan, I would agree as well.
All right.
Wally Baker, I would agree.
All right. So as you can see here, they've drawn a box around just the solar panels. And it looks like, Brad, if I'm reading that correctly, that at all points you have 100-foot separation from the zoning district line to the panels.
That is correct.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Now your zoning district setback is, what is that? 50, 20, 50.
Technically for the LG SPI, we're at 100, 50, 50.
There you go. And 100 was front.
Correct.
Which front is technically here. So you're well over that. And what were the other ones, Brad?
50 and 50.
All right. So are any of the panels within 50 feet of lot lines, including over here?
I don't believe so. I want to say if you zoom in, is that a 50-foot offset right there?
Sorry.
That on those plans?
Stuff in my way here.
It's actually to the fence is 66 feet to the fence line there.
Awesome.
Mhm.
All right. So you meet the setbacks in terms of the zoning district. Again, even from this lot line, what do you have, 25?
Yeah, we got the 25 screening. We're like about 74 to the fence.
All right. And about what to the roadway? Maybe 25, 30.
Probably
Okay.
about 30, 35 feet.
Okay. All right. So you meet the zoning district setbacks, and then just talk to me about open space. Because I think we're required to do open space of what? B2, 25%? Open space?
Yeah, and I guess that's where I've always struggled with the solar, and as far as open space. And I mean, technically there's grass growth underneath all of the panels. I mean, our intent here is to plant this with a native actual wildflower mixed. So it won't just be your standard residential grass. It'll be more of a lower growth wildflower mix through here. Again, it will grow under the panels. I mean, we could look at what that percentage is overall on a lot, but I would say with counting that 100-foot buffer around there, we're probably over that 25%. I can do a quick calc here.
Yeah, if you could do a quick calc.
Yep.
So the board doesn't even hopefully need to get into whether they consider a fenced solar panel field open space or not.
Yep.
If you can meet the 25% outside of that, that's a lot cleaner, obviously.
Yep. Let me see what we can do right now.
All right. Does the board have any thoughts on that? Whether they consider a fenced? I'm thinking that's, I'm not a board member, so whether you consider a fence.
I'd consider solar panels open space, whether there's flowers or rocks.
You consider it open space? Is that what you?
Would not.
Would not. Oh, okay.
I concur with that.
Same here, Bob Locus.
All right, so you need to make sure that you meet that open space percentage.
Getting that for everybody right now.
I wasn't going to put you on the spot like that, Brad.
Oh, that's what they make the measuring tool in the PDF for.
Awesome. And then I don't think we had anything else other than that, right? While you're measuring, I'm just going to read real quick. Title page.
We just had, Jen, we had that piece about the decommissioning would be a part
Yeah,
of
the
it.
decommissioning, you can do that, and you have done that as a condition in all of your past solar things. I just wanted to make sure that was on the record, that they do need to come up with a decommissioning estimate that our engineer agrees with. Then we need to put that agreement in place before they're allowed to pull a building permit.
Jen, we can show the exact on the revised plans, but we will have the 25%. So it's going to be 3.08 acres on the 12.33, and we'll have that here. We'll get the actual measurement on there outside the fence line showing that we meet that.
All right, cool. Great.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, so I don't have anything else. Can you just tell me, is the utility connection inside an easement area as well, or does it not need to be because it's in the air? What's the?
So it is. It will be within the easement, and that easement does allow for utility connections.
Okay.
Obviously, we still need to finalize that with National Grid. We are going through the full interconnection process right now. But so the commission knows, the board knows, there is overhead utility lines on 146 that the trucks going into the former Atlas Box Unified Packing cross underneath, and there's a utility line on the northwest side of that driveway, overhead 3-phase utility that we'll be tying into.
Okay.
So it's just under, we just need to understand where National Grid's going to end up placing their equipment. They've got a bunch of poles coming into the site that we're hoping they'll be able to use those poles to place all their equipment on as well.
Okay, so that utility pole's kind of right on the edge of the easement. Is that what you're saying right in here?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, I got nothing else. If nobody else has anything else.
Okay, should we,
Motion to,
motion
move
to,
this. Go ahead.
to continue?
November 16th, and then you guys pick what time. The last hearing's at 7. It's nearly clean, so I don't know if you want to go with 7:15 for this one or a little.
7:15. Okay. So we have a motion?
That was
please?
Bob, right?
Yeah, made that motion.
Second.
I'll second it, Mike Gagan.
Okay. Any comment? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Wally Baker votes yes. Bob?
Aye.
Michael?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0-0.
Okay, I'll see everybody back here on November 16th.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks. Okay, there are not any Form A plans, as I understand it.
There are not.
Okay, so
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for 10/5/20.
Second.
any comments? Hearing none, we'll have a vote. Bob?
Aye.
Yes, Scott?
Aye.
Okay, Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Mike?
Mike Gagan, aye.
Wally Baker, aye. Carries 5-0-0. I saw some correspondence here.
Yes. Okay, so the first one was, this discussion came up a tiny bit when we were doing the 34 Providence Road, the Amarillo, and some different tenants that were seen coming and going from the Atlas Box Providence Road property. As you know, for properties like Whitens Road, when you have a building that's inhabited by multiple tenants, as tenants move in and out, you need to notify the planning department and the building department. Make sure that no site plan waivers are necessary and go through the process. So we know there's enough parking for everybody that's in the building, and the fire department knows who's there and what's there. So I did reach out to Atlas Box to apologize for not understanding that this was required, and they did provide me with their current list of tenants at Providence Road. And this was provided to the building department as well as, I think I gave it to the fire department, I'll make sure. And so we know who the current tenants in that building are right now. They include Pregis Foam at 30,000 square feet, Mr. Appliance with some office space at 2,200 square feet, High Purity Water with 600 square feet of office and 1,000 square feet of warehouse, Aqua Cut Machine and Engineering with 150 square feet of office and 1,500 square feet of warehouse. Prime Metals is actually renting 30,000 square feet from them. Polyvinyl has 3,400 square feet of office space and 4,000 square feet of warehouse. And Atlas still occupies with their own company, 33,500 square feet. They've listed their number of employees. They've provided their operating hours and described each of those operations. So we have the current list as of right now. And they now understand that anytime they want to take on a new client or they want to switch out one, they need to be meeting with us so we can make sure that everybody knows what's in the building and that the parking continues to comply with our regulations.
Good job.
That's
We got
good.
them up to date. And then I just provided you some select copies of some notices from abutting towns, so you know what's going on in some abutting towns. You've got a rezoning happening in Douglas And you're changing some agricultural land to industrial land in the town of Douglas. You are, and you've got a map for that. It's a pretty good area. You're doing you'll recall the multi-town mixed commerce that we tried to do. Uxbridge had previously approved that, but there was some defect in the process. So the Attorney General had kicked that bylaw to some degree, or portions of that bylaw. So they've advertised to put that back in place in addition to some petition articles. This hearing says it will be October 26th. It appears there might have been some defect in that notice, so they've rescheduled that hearing to November 12th. So that appears to be properly noticed. And then you also have another marijuana cultivation and manufacturing facility that wants to go to Uxbridge at 56 Industrial Drive. So that potential proponent is actually hosting a Zoom informational meeting on Wednesday, November 11th. If you are interested in sitting in on that, you've got that Zoom information. Again, those uses cropping up all around us, no pun intended, cropping up. And then I wanted to just give you a follow-up on the Huff Road information you asked for. You have a copy of the email blast that went out to all the members of Sutton Youth Baseball. And you also have a copy of the selectmen's minutes showing that the selectmen did give their permission for site plan review to be filed with the planning board for that third field. They voted that back in July. So that's all I have.
Jen,
Very
one second, can I, any noise or change or I think it was the traffic study on the Millbury multifamily?
Yeah, actually, Millbury. So what Millbury did was they decided that if you come off West Main Street, which is Singletary Ave in Sutton, and you take, you're going from Sutton to Millbury, you take a right turn right there at the steel factory right before you get to the Village Knoll. That's Burbank. So you take a right onto Burbank. As you start to go up the hill, there's a new project that's condominiums. I forget the name of the project, but it's condominiums. It's just past where the entrance to this Singletary Arms project will be.
Right.
So the Millbury Planning Board said, we're only requiring the traffic study to tell us what's going on at that entrance, because if there's no big deal at that entrance, then there's going to be no big deal in Sutton. So that's their current logic, that they're making sure the traffic study goes out a little distance, so it goes to the east a little way, but only inside the town of Millbury at that next project entrance. So they want to see, that will tell them how much traffic is heading towards Sutton. And they think that's decent for now. So I don't know, but that's what they've decided currently. That's how they've expanded the traffic study right this minute.
That is a tiny traffic study.
Yeah.
I mean, area-wise, geographic.
How many units are there in that condominium project?
The condo project is only like 30 or 40, I thought.
Right, that's a 55 and over. Was it Stafford or
Stafford? Yeah, Stafford something. Or Stratford Village, I think it is, because the Stratfords live all over that section of Burbank.
Right.
Jen, I guess we have to hear what Millbury thinks. So maybe the next move would be for Sutton in our planner to let Millbury know that if any projects that are going to have an effect on our abutting towns, we'll be giving them much more information. I just think we should take the high road there, and don't you ever let a project in this town that big, that close to one of our neighbors, not have a chance to weigh in, because it is going to have an impact.
mean, yeah, I mean, we'll see this impact relatively soon as aggregate gets ready to change hand and that starts to get developed. There's a lot of potential impact there, and we're certainly not going to ignore the impact on South Grafton or Millbury.
Right. We can't do that, and I would expect our towns to do the same with us.
Mhm.
As a
So
start.
that's where that stands right now. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. But that's what I've got.
I would think an over 55 with 30 units is going to be significantly different than another situation with 200 units. And more active people working and, you know, here, there, and everywhere. And I don't know, but that would be an observation on my part. But
Right. Yeah, I think their point was we want to understand how much traffic would be coming from Single Ferry Arms over the Sutton line. And they're saying if they just get a measure at that next driveway up, they'll understand how much is heading towards Sutton. I don't know that that's completely true, because that traffic could be heading actually to Stratford Village. So, you know, I would think at least you'd want a count at the town line, but. So, but I can assert back saying, you know, we're a little disappointed. We wish you'd at least give us a count at the town line, you know, but.
If you ask us to give us a little bit of advice about the aggregate property. Yes, because they were we're on the other side of the mirror. So that's coming, but if you want us to just look at Sutton only.
Take a reading at Blackstone Street and call it done. Yeah,
that's a lot of strategy for us as a town. We can't do that. And Millbury can do better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad Bill brought it up.
The applicant's paying for it. Why can't they make the applicant spend a few more bucks and do a larger study? I mean, Millbury's not paying for it.
Right. I don't know.
I just think it's reasonable to ask, but okay.
I mean, I can certainly attend the next meeting and reassert your request. If you would.
Well, you don't want to burn your bridges there, Jen, but
no,
well,
it's coming in aggregate.
Yeah.
But it's going to be on the agenda. And the shoe's going to mend the other foot. So we need to all think about that stuff. Glad you brought it up.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point.
We got a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. I don't assume there's any conversation. The chair votes aye. Michael?
Aye.
Bill?
Bill Talcott, aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Okay, carries 5-0-0. And I have to apologize to everybody because I have a new router here, and I got one of our booklets on top of it, and come to find out they're little tabs that turned it off. So we had a cockpit problem. My old one didn't have that stuff on the top.
You're funny. Wally, I'll have you, if you can just watch the section of the meeting once it's posted that you missed, and I'll have you just sign that form saying you viewed the missing portion, so that you're fully eligible to vote at the next meeting on that issue.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
Good night, gentlemen.
Have a good day.
Jen, take care.
Good job, Jen.
Yeah.